I'm a junior at Ringgold High School. Growing up is really hard in this small town, since boys my age here are more concerned about cars and girls. As for me, well, I was more concerned about my next game of Dungeons & Dragons. I only had 3 friends, Mike, Jerry, and Chucky. We all spent most of the time hanging out at each other's houses, playing D&D and getting picked on the majority of our time at school. Bullying was inevitable for us, since, well, we were nerds. And getting a girl for us would be impossible since nobody really wanted a nerd as a boyfriend who geeks out about being the dungeon master. Despite being picked on, we all lived normal lives. Everyone except Chucky. Chucky's parents died when he was about 5 years old, and he lives with his grandmother who spends most of the time sleeping on the couch. She did make some great bratwurst though. Those were always delicious. Chucky pretty much takes care of himself. One thing Chucky hated was when the kids at school would pick on him. He would spend the rest of the day mad and would complain that they ruined it. He was not one to easily let go of a grudge. He had a lot of anger inside him, begging to come out from all the stuff he would receive at school. I felt bad for him because I knew he didn't have it easy. He was also very poor and his family could barely afford where they lived at. The worst part was when they would tease him about not having parents. People have no limits these days. It all started when it was our usual session of Dungeons & Dragons on Friday night. We met at Jerry's place. Mike brought pizza from Domino's and Jerry managed to grab some beers from his dad's stash. We had to secretly drink away in our big gulps. The only problem was Chucky didn't show up. We called him, but he wouldn't answer. I remembered that earlier that day he mentioned that Steven wouldn't leave him alone. He said he pushed him in the boys' bathroom and proceeded to taunt him all day. It's understandable since Chucky was probably too upset to show up. We all got curious and wanted to make sure he was okay, so we called his grandmother, and she mentioned he was fine, that he was just having a bad day. That was only one of the first times he wouldn't show up to our D&D sessions, but I must admit this bullying stuff was getting out of hand. We didn't hear from Chucky all weekend until Monday morning at school. He looked like he was in a better mood, even had a smile on. "How was everybody's weekend? Sorry I missed out on Friday's session," he said. It was nice seeing him happy for once. He looked born again, as if he went on vacation that weekend and enjoyed the hell out of it. "Well, you missed a great night of beers and pizza. How about this Friday, you make up for it and show up?" I said. "I'll have to see what's on the table for Friday, but more than likely, yeah." That seemed odd. What else could he possibly be doing that doesn't involve hanging out with his best friends, playing the best game in the world, with some alcohol and pizza? Later, in our first period class, our teacher made an announcement that one of the students had gone missing this weekend. And it was Stephen Murray. Holy hell. My mind right away turned towards Chucky. I knew he was having problems with him, but Chucky is not the type, unless his rage finally decided to do something about it. "If anyone has any information, you reach out to me or one of the other staff members," the teacher declared. This all really did seem odd, and more so that Chucky hasn't really seemed all that happy all his life. I don't think I've ever seen him smile till the Monday I saw him. What made my doubts become more worrisome was that Chucky didn't show up to our D&D session that Friday again. Steven had still not been found. That Monday again, another student went missing. Peter Landon, another one of Chucky's bullies. All of the while, Chucky could give a care in the world. It's hard not to think that Chucky was not involved in this, but everything for me pointed that he was. He was even becoming more distant and stopped going to our sessions altogether. I needed to know how Chucky was spending his weekends. That Friday, I confronted Jerry and Mike about it. We all agreed to spy on Chucky that night to see his whereabouts. We started at his house. I forgot to mention that Chucky lives a little outside of town, close to the neck of the woods. But he wasn't at home, so we decided to go into the woods. Now, this was really scary since it was already dark, and quite honestly, I don't know what made us decide that it was a good idea to go into the woods that night. All three of us stuck together and we used the flashlights from our phones to try and find Chucky. We all yelled out his name, but no answer. We decided to just leave until Mike noticed something. Is that a well? We all looked confused since we've been out here a couple of times, and we never saw a well in the woods before. Then I heard a voice. It was Chucky's. He was walking with his grandma. I can't wait to start grinding the meat already. He should be good for the following week. I heard Chucky's grandmother say, "How do you convince them to come over here, Chucky?" "I just tell them I want to fight them, and those loser bullies never turn down a fight." "Well, nobody messes with my grandson. It all works out in the end. I help you get rid of that bullying problem, and I get to make my famous bratwurst again." Chucky and his grandma were carrying a black bag. As they walked their way to the well, they emptied out the remains of the black bag inside the well. I can't make food out of teenagers' skulls. What better way to hide them? We were all stunned with the revelation. Mike wanted to leave, and we all decided it was the best thing to do. We quietly left the woods and headed back home. We didn't know if we should call the cops and turn in our friend. It was 11 p.m. already when I got a call from Chucky, who sounded very excited. "Hey, are you all still up for playing D&D tonight? I'm bringing over my grandma's famous bratwursts. I know we all love eating those things like crack."